Hello. It's not quite a new series, but instead a continuation of a recent series. I'm a secret Roottrees. This is the DLC of The Roottrees Are Dead, and I'm very eager to get started in it because I had so much fun with the base game, and I look forward to more, basically. Like, everything that I experienced was so enjoyable, and I know that I'm gonna love this the DLC. So I also looked at the incident at Galley House, and it looks sick. So I might get that and play it at some point. We'll probably break up the puzzle game series after I conclude this one. We'll maybe do like an more action focused game next, kind of like how I did Fury previously to this. But I don't know exactly what I want to do. I was thinking about maybe doing Cyberpunk, which I think would take a really long time, but I'd just do longer videos. So instead of sticking to the hour, I would go to like 3 hours or something like that. But I may also do another Metroidvania, so like Blasphemous or Nine Souls. There's a lot that I want to play. There's so much that I want to post on YouTube. And the recent support that I've been getting is extremely wonderful. So I really do appreciate it. So first things first, we are going to enable evidence intuition for this playthrough. I read a really compelling argument from the creator of The Roottrees Are Dead that they basically use this system in a similar way that Outer Wilds says when you have visited a location, there's more to explore here. This is a quantifiable system, though, where it tells you explicitly how many clues are left. And I kind of wish that maybe you could choose when you reveal that, but we're going to just play with it to see how it goes, because I do think it's going to prevent me from falling into some of the issues that I experienced in the first one, entirely self-created issues, where I got deadlocked at the end, and it was because I had missed 2 pieces of vital information, which, you know, gated a ton of knowledge. And in fact, like, a lot of my deductions could have been based off of those fundamental pieces of evidence, but because I neglected to find them in the first place, I just had to go off of like intuition and assumption. So we are going to continue, I think. Maybe not. No, maybe not. Well, maybe, because everything here is correct. Okay, no. I have to start a new game. My bad. And it does say that, so new game. The Roottreemania. Find out what happens to the infamous family in a whole new mystery. Roottreemania will spoil unlocked content. Make sure you've tied up any loose ends before starting. Okay. So we'll save that. More info. There's so much more to discover. Is it Sam? No.
Hi.
It's
Clark.
Clark. Yeah.
Probably not who you expected to be knocking, but life's funny sometimes. You've done well staying anonymous. It took us a while to track you down. A lot has happened in the last year. Far too much of it public. But there's stuff going on behind the scenes too. I never wanted to be president. I'm not great with stress. With my mother's deteriorating I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Ooh, Lauren.
I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because part of the fallout of Sam's book is that everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Now that it's public knowledge the Clancy Trust covers any Roottrees despite their history with us, a lot of potential cousins have surfaced. You may have seen that man on the cover of News Time. It was a disaster for us.
All right, let's take note of News Time. That's probably a periodical that we can search. Let me actually write that down. So I have my notebook. One thing that I want to do is I actually want to be a lot more conscious of the things that I wrote down. So we're going to write down News Time. Because how long did it take me to discover the, what was it? The beacon. Despite that being like on the actual cover of the game. And I just was like, no, clearly I don't need to look that up.
And then Miracle went and made it all about himself.
Of course. Classic Miracle.
The long and short of it is a lot of potential cousins just showed up. Sam's helping some of them. But she's not really going about it the right way. and she's not taking calls from anyone in the family. I let it slip through a mutual friend that I found you, and I was stopping in. It's manipulative, but I'm hoping she'll reach out to you. You can let her know I'm on her side. In the meantime, if you're willing, I can share our files with you. Pass them along to Sam if she reaches out. I'm genuinely hoping she'll realize I'm an ally. Feel free to do your own research. I've been told you enjoy things like this. To each their own.
That's true. I am a genealogy genie. All right, we're back in it. We've got our notable list. We've got our board. Let's examine it. And we have all of our previously documented information. We've got another top secret. You can open this envelope after the whole family tree has been filled in. You'll have to be extra sleuthy this time around to deduce the truth. Pay close attention to what you find, and be sure to look into loose ends. We've got a lot of infidelity this time around. So we have... This person is also on the original tree. Okay, very cool. So we're actually going to bring over people and put them in these positions. That's really good. Family tree update in 1998. Possible infidelity 3. Actually, let's start from this side then. Possible infidelity 1 in 1921. So this is probably going to be someone in the 5 pieces. Possible infidelity 2, 1949. Also possible that it's in the 5 pieces, but it could be the next generation. Then we've got possible infidelity 3 from 1975 to 1982. Most likely the Dreamers, or this generation. I think that they were called the Dreamers. We have more guardianships. We have split ups. We have more cordoned off individuals. Infidelity, final affair, first affair, final affair. And then 2 people who have had a kid since the start of the first game, it seems. Right? So that makes sense. Our notable individuals. 1. Only 1 star? That's interesting. So in contrast to the first one where we had so many of them, you know, we had, what, 7 or something like that? We only have 1 on the board this time. I guess the difference is that we have people that we can put into positions that we already know about. All right. So I think the first place to start is with our evidence. And we're going to look at previously on with 8 pieces of information in here. That's extremely interesting. So let's read this again for those who are jumping in the middle of this one because you, for whatever reason, you haven't seen me do this because I only did it in brief in my 9th episode. I will actually fully read this. Intuition. You've been in this line of work for a long time. So long, in fact, you developed a 6th sense for how useful your evidence can be. The numbers in the magnifying glass refer to how many clues are connected to a specific piece of evidence. The higher the number, the more there is to find. As you begin Roottreemania, we suggest you focus on notable events and reminders. As you progress, these numbers will change. Whenever you find more evidence or lock in family members, new discoveries will be added to the list and old evidence will be less useful. Trust your intuition. If a piece of evidence seems too good to be true, take a closer look at the people or phrases it mentions. Often the most satisfying revelations come from retracing a path you thought was fully explored, armed with a new perspective. Sometimes the reason certain evidence has such high value is because it can lead to finding more evidence. You may be missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Yeah, I have certainly experienced that with the 2 books that Lauren wrote. All right, so let's read this out. Previously on The Roottrees Are Dead. This is a new investigation with a new focus. After many months of newfound interest in the Roottrees, it is recommended you try to catch up with some of what happened since last time. Some web searches may yield new or different results, and some books and magazines from your previous investigation may be relevant to your new one. It's also a much more widespread search. The list of first and last names you can choose from will contain red herrings. Not all of them will be used. Do love that. Below is a reminder of some of the most notable beats of your initial dive into the Roottree family tree. All evidence from before is still available, and for your convenience, any searches that do not lead to new information still function as they did during your first investigation. The Roottrees Candy Company was founded by Elias and Gwyneth many years ago. The entire family has a financial reliance on the health of that company. Most of the action took place in or around Butler County, Pennsylvania, where the company was initially located. Elias, Carl, and Raina were on the cover of magazines. Other notable Roottrees, such as Lauren Roottree, Miracle Roottree, and Jim Roottree, had physical media, such as record albums, books, and movies associated with them. Lauren's 2 diaries were probably the most useful resource overall, mentioning many of her relatives directly. They certainly were. The 5 pieces, Elias's children, could be identified based on the initials of the original candy flavors. There are 5 presidents of the Roottree Company. Many were featured in periodicals. Stephanie Jones and Brian Jones were featured in campaign posters and led to Caroline Morden's art book, which enabled you to fill out more of the tree. Many of the younger Roottrees were found by following a complex rabbit hole through a conspiracy site that led to finding a searchable web address for Chris Rafferty, Lauren's grandson. November Roottree was really difficult to place. Her occupation could only be found via Brian Jones' company website. I wouldn't say very difficult, but it was, a little less direct. Ronald and his brother Robert Roottree go by Ron and Robbie. Both worked on a TV show called Brother Trouble until Robbie embezzled money and fled to Paris. Ron unsuccessfully tried to have Robbie removed from the Clancy Trust. Sam and her father were cryptically mentioned in a book about historical letters. I actually never found that book in my original playthrough. The one that was written by Caroline, I think. So that's like one of the big pieces of evidence that I never found. And I think that was the other Caroline, the wife of Zachary, not the first Caroline, who was the steel manufacturer daughter. There were also a few dead ends and red herrings. Loisius Herring Roottree, who claimed he was a Roottree, was not. Family Man, a book about Elias Roottree, turned out to be propaganda and not useful. Lauren's other books, historical romance novels, were not very useful on their own, though could lead to other information. And Caroline Morden's sculptures were not useful. Okay. Cool. So, 8 pieces of evidence. We're not going to worry too much about this yet because there's a lot in here, right? Like, everybody's name is in here. It's inevitably going to be relevant because a lot of these people are likely going to be characters that we can see again. I'll read this again for those who are new. Welcome to your notepad. On each page, other than this one, you can just jot down important information such as names, family relationships, marital status, sibling count, or anything else you'd like to remember. Page titles can be renamed to make it easier to remember. Highlight any text in your web browser and add it to the page. The entire contents of your notebook are saved even if you quit the game. Family reminders. We have siblings, cousins, second cousins, third cousins. Don't worry about it. And American school terms. K through 12 stands for kindergarten through 12th grade. This includes all schooling from ages 5 to 18. Schools produce yearbooks, which are albums of stage photos of students, typically with solid color or cloudy backgrounds. All right, there you have it. So we have our first page, and we're going to write down 2 things. We need to look up news time, potential publication, and Miracle apparently capitalized on the recent whistleblowing. Okay. So let's look at this. We have a lot of information here, and I'm curious where we even want to start. Because what it's telling me is that all evidence from before is still available, and for your convenience, any searches that do not lead to new information still function as they did during your first investigation. So I imagine that means we can just revisit old links and it's not going to be a big deal. But because we're using the evidence intuition system this time, we aren't going to get, overwhelmed. Now I understand why people were suggesting that I use it, because if all of the evidence from the previous game is still in here, but not all of it is relevant, I could see myself getting a little overwhelmed and just repeating a lot of the old searches that I was doing previously. Okay, now let's look at just this to clear it. Oh, there's a lot, actually. Today, August 3rd, 1999, there was a knock at your door. Clark Rafferty LaRue, the current president of Roottrees Candy Company, explained that multiple people have come out of the woodwork to claim to be Roottrees. He's been trying to work with Sam, but she's not answered his calls. He also handed you a letter that he said you could share with Sam that said the following. Before you do that, we're going to look up Clark Rafferty LaRue is the 6th president of the Roottrees Candy Company. So we're going to want to look up that. To both of you, the company I hired to help us with the Clancy Trust is busy pouring through the entire family's history, as well as people they may have had in contact with. That said, the family is not particularly happy with this, and are doing their best to slow things down. Many of them are actively avoiding our interviews. Every time there's a high-profile public case, it causes headaches. So please, I don't mind if you do your research, but I ask that you stop going to the press. Instead, we have a highly trained team of lawyers to back you up. We're ready and willing to verify anyone and everyone you believe could be realistically part of a relationship that led to the birth of the new root tree. Just tell us who to investigate by filling in the new sections of the tree, and we'll take time to handle verifying that the timeline checks out. But keep in mind why we're here. If someone didn't have a child or has already been disqualified by our lawyers, like in the case of the girl with negative DNA test, case of the girl with the negative DNA test, there won't be a place on them for the tree. We're not just looking for affairs and infidelities. We're only looking for the ones that lead to potential new root trees. Some spots in the new section will be marked with a tree icon. Those areas are reserved for members of the original family tree you filled in 8 months ago. Just like last time, be sure to use birth names for everyone you could add. Married names or nicknames won't be enough. To start sorting out the infidelities, I can recommend you turning to your eyes to the men in positions of power. I'd love to say that's only because it would have been a lot harder for the women to hide 9 months of pregnancy and birth without the family noticing, but I can't. Interesting. What does that mean? Is it just that he's upset about the sexism that is inherent to infidelity in this day and age, this time period? I'll be blunt, I'm no stranger to infidelity. It's true, he divorced and then cheated on his second wife. I wish I could claim that I was the perfect husband, but you've seen the family tree, so why pretend? Some of us learned how to wield our family name and fortune to our benefit, consequences be damned. I can't change the past or unhurt to those who I betrayed. Instead, all I can do is be honest with myself and to you, refuse to make any more mistakes, and do my best to sort out the various messes we've left behind. So please, fill in the tree, and together we can figure out how to begin to make amends. Good luck, and thank you both. Okay, so searching men in positions of power. Let's look up the presidents. So first, Elias, root tree. Second, Zach, root tree. Third, that was Guy, root tree, right? Fourth was it was the Sam's child, like Sam's grandson or son, and then Carl, and now Clark. I gotta remember whose name is. It was Ernest. That's right, Ernest Jr. So these are the 5 men that were in quote-unquote positions of power as president. So that could be an excellent way to start. We already know that this is probably the easiest one to start with. I mean, we haven't looked at the notable list. I'm jumping the gun. Let's be thorough and actually read all of our evidence before we start making deductions. All right, we've got 11 pieces of evidence in here, and our notable events are the 6 pieces. That's interesting. That might be a new line that's been created. The Root Tree Rift, Clark Rafferty LaRue, the newest president, 5 Ps with a yellow star next to it, Roottreemania, and Anonymom. Interesting. Okay, let's read. Today is August 3rd, 1999. It is 8 months since you helped Sam Madsen with the research necessary for her book. That's a good point. Let's see if we can find Sam Madsen's tell-all book. Sam was true to her word and paid you an incredibly large sum of money. She never mentioned you by name, however, so you've managed to keep a low profile. The Roottrees, on the other hand, have not. Below is a summary of notable events since the book's release, though you can refresh your memory in full detail by searching online. We're just gonna do this as like first questions. 6 pieces. Sam Madsen's book about Elias Roottree was released in February. Oh, okay. All right. That's a great name for it. It was a bestseller for a few months. At the time, Carl had not been yet replaced. The Rootree Rift. In March, the Rootree company stumbled publicly as they attempted to respond to the book's release with multiple conflicting press releases and a clear lack of leadership. Clark Rafferty LaRue. Clark was announced as the permanent successor to Carl Rootree and welcomed Sam Madsen to the family officially. The company hired an outside legal group to handle the changes to the Clansett Trust. This includes any other new questions of lineage. That's interesting. How did they manage to change the Clansett Trust? So we need to look up Clansett Trust changes in 1999. Five Ps. After this announcement, there was a rash of different people claiming to be Roottrees, mostly dismissed as opportunists and scammers. The highest profile of these, by a wide margin, was a rapper named Felix Fellows, who changed his moniker to 5Ps as a publicity move at the same time. 5Ps is the only notable person on the updated tree. Okay, so we already know that this person is 5Ps. And he's the child of our first affair that our family member here had. Roottreemania. In another high-profile misstep, Miracle Rootree publicly and vehemently denied that 5Ps was a Rootree. The Rootree's legal team then offered to do a DNA test to get 5Ps to drop his claim, and in a moment that caught what seemed like the entire world by storm, the test proved he was a Rootree. Suddenly, the world was obsessed with the Rootrees. Anonymom and Jane Doe Rootree. In July, an anonymous woman, who the press began to refer to as Anonymom, appeared in interviews with her face and voice disguised. She claimed that an affair with a Rootree led to the birth of her daughter, aka Jane Doe Rootree. If true, this would make her daughter yet another secret Rootree and therefore entitled to a share of the Clansett Trust. Nobody knew it at the time, but this would turn out to be the last chapter in the Roottreemania saga. As more and more of Anonymom's story came out, people began to notice how much it echoed 5Ps in nearly every significant way. The court of public opinion began to turn. Confirming the world's suspicions, the DNA test orchestrated by lawyers on both sides proved that her daughter was not a Rootree. This final event caused public disappointment, smugness from doubters, and countless accusations of the entire ordeal being an elaborate hoax or attempt at fraud. Things got a bit ugly, and the fun of Roottreemania seemed to disappear overnight. Now, a month later, it feels like a distant memory. All right, well, we've got a fuck ton to think about here. I think what I want to do first is basically work from the top here. We're going to jump around, but I'm going to start with news time. I guess we need to connect to the internet. We love working it late at night. That's what every good genealogy genie does. Let's look. We've got our pictures still in there. My guess is that is even my search history wouldn't be because this is a brand new game. But do I have the previous periodicals? Teen Blast, Starlet, Silver Screen Magazine, Modern Music Monthly, Butler County Times, and Business Watch. Okay, so we want to look up News Time. News Time is a major news periodical that releases a new issue every week. The rapper 5Ps famously appeared on the cover claiming to be a Rootree. Then 1 week later, Miracle Rootree did the same, denying that he was. Because of this high-profile back-to-back discourse right before the start of Roottreemania, they appeared to be the de facto publication to get news about the ongoing Rootree saga. They reported record subscriber numbers during this time, which lasted until the end of Roottreemania. When the world generally stopped paying much attention, they went back to reporting on more traditional news. News Time appears to be available via your periodical search. Okay, so we have this new publication. Excellent. I want to get Sam Madsen's book at the very start. It just seems really important to get these kind of books in. So Sam Madsen, 6 pieces. Sam Madsen's book was released earlier this year and details the truth about Elias Rootree, as well as Sam's fathers, Edward Clancy Rootree and John Miller. You helped verify her story, so much of the book's core contents are familiar to you. That said, Sam had some sections on other family secrets and rumors. Much of it didn't matter to the primary purpose of the book, and some of it is new to you and may be important to your new search. These sections have been added to your notes. Okay? I think now we've got these two. We are going to now look up in News Time 5Ps to get his picture. Felix Fellows, aka Five Piece, famously appeared on the cover of News Time, kicking off Roottreemania. Then a week later, Miracle Rootree appeared on the cover of the magazine in an article that focused heavily on Five Piece as well. A summary of both articles, as well as a close-up of the photo of Five Piece is holding on the cover of his issue, have been added to your evidence. So here's a thought that I've had just now. Am I going to have all of these pictures still, or do I need new pictures of the family members? You don't have any portraits available to add to the family tree. To get started, click on the Faces in your Evidence tab. Why is this notable? Well, the reason why is because anybody's picture who shows up here that I already have, for example, Miracle Roottree, is going to be one of these initial 4 pictures. Everyone else is going to be unfamiliar to me. But everyone else, like so Miracle is one of these 4 people. We already know straight out of the start, and it would make the most sense that he's probably this guy, and might be the father of 5 Ps. Because why else would that be the case? Although the timeline doesn't quite work out as well, given his age. But he is the youngest of the original 5 pieces. When you think about it, 6 pieces, I should say. I don't want to ignore the fact that Edward Clancy is one of the original 5 pieces. So let's look at the magazine cover. Felix Fellows, and let's look at Roottrees. Oh, this is a cool cover actually. His picture, and then we've got our book. We've got 2 more pictures. Interesting. Guy Hudson is also one of the people. So if I'm thinking about likelihood of time period, Guy Hudson is probably this one. Miracle is probably this one. Because Miracle wasn't born by now. Miracle was born pretty late, because 1908 is when the company was founded, and I think Miracle is 14 years younger than Margolite. So it's probable that this is him. It's probable that this is him. We already know that that's him. We don't know who that woman is, but I also didn't read the evidence. I was just getting pictures. Okay. Let's look at the evidence that we've collected. I'll look at this after I read the 6 pieces, because I think that this is going to be like as important as Lauren's books were. 6 pieces. Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family, Sam Madsen. Sam's books... Oh, we don't have multiple pages. That's interesting. Sam's books has a few different passages about her own history with the company and the rumors and gossip she collected during that tenure. She ran the farm for a period starting around 1968 after the death of Elias Rootree until her daughter Gwyneth took over in 1984. Most of the relevant rumors coincide with the reign of Guy Hudson. Okay. Let's do Guy. Took over as president in 1978. Sam was very much not a fan of Guy, and according to 6 pieces, it was an open secret within the family that Guy was very much not a fan of remaining faithful to his wife, Patricia. Guy was unfaithful to his wife, Patricia, frequently. Well, that definitely stands to reason that he's in that position that I put him in. Many of their hires at the time were young single women, and Guy often spent a lavish amount of money on private parties. Guy spent money on private parties. This was 20 years ago. 20 years ago would be 1979. So that is perfectly in the timeline for this. I'm feeling exceptionally good that this is the case for Guy Hudson. Again, we're probably going to do a little bit of meta where I'm going to... Oh, I got out of my costume. 1 second. Nobody look. Yeah, we don't need to lock in this stuff until we are going to get confirmation, which I'm noticing we have to do 4 key relatives instead of 3, which is how the original game worked. Okay, very cool. Let's go back to the evidence. This was 20 years ago, and Sam warns that most of it is hearsay. Still, you find the following information that may be relevant. One of Sam's farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met, but worked as one of Guy's secretaries. Okay. So he had a secretary who was the daughter of someone named Elizabeth. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant called Antonelli's met her daughter at one of Guy's parties, and they eloped quickly due to a pregnancy. Okay. So Elizabeth's daughter hold on. One of Guy's parties, they quickly eloped. A caterer from a local restaurant. So met a caterer from Antonelli's. And that's an important piece of information. Eloping after. Soon after, due to a pregnancy. This party was for swingers. She came with Guy originally and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. For those who don't know what swingers are, it's basically like partner swapping, where probably like it's basically an orgy, and they were, you know, you basically have sex with one another's partners. So that could mean that the pregnancy that Elizabeth's daughter has she seems reluctant, so probably Guys, but if it was a swinging party, you kind of have that like, well, if she had sex with somebody else, they could have impregnated her. And therefore the legitimacy of the child is unclear. Guy's main positive contribution to the company involved expanding to markets previously untapped by Roottree. However, when he went on trips overseas, they were often for weeks at a time, and Guy was known for spending more time and money on unofficial business than meetings with distributors and manufacturers. It was said that he bribed at least one politician to open a factory in Brazil. Guy opened a factory in Brazil via a bribe, potentially. He also took frequent trips overseas. Where else did he go? So it sounds like he's also like a sex tourist. There's also a section where Sam speculates that Elias may have cheated on Gwyneth. Okay, interesting. Elias first. Sam suggests that Elias may have had an affair while married to Gwyneth, which would check out because that is the most likely candidate for the 1921 person, because the only other option really is Edward Clancy and Elias Jr. Edward Clancy is not him because we can't click on the cover of the book and get his portrait. And it's unlikely that Gwendolyn cheated just for, you know, what basically Clark suggested originally. But it could also be Clancy Edward. So we'll need to see whose portraits show up. Sorry, pardon me. I'm drinking some coffee. And I'm yapping, which makes my throat gunky. I hate that, but it is what it is. All right. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was, and was the first to invite Sam to family events. While she has no hard evidence, Sam always got the impression that Gwyneth was able to coerce Elias into allowing Sam back into the family using some kind of leverage, instead of it being a natural course of events. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyneth were known to loudly argue, sometimes about other women. Sam also says her son Ernie once asked her, "Who's Beth?" because he overheard them yelling about someone with that name. Sam's son, Ernie, asked about a woman named Beth, who Elias and Gwyneth argued over. As far as Sam knows, Elias once had a secretary named Elizabeth. Elias had a... Let's make that a second one, actually. Oops. I didn't mean to cut the whole thing. There you go. Elias had a secretary named Elizabeth. Not the same one from the farm. Okay. So this is all good evidence. Okay. I wonder if we should also consider this. So, Gwyneth, Sam's daughter, took over the farm in 1984. Maybe that could be something. We also should probably look up Patricia. We'll put that in Guy Hudson's. Yeah. I guess that's going to be something that we can deduce from this. Okay. Now let's look at the rest of what we've got. We've got a lot of evidence at the onset of the game, so it's a little overwhelming, but it's okay. I don't want to go down multiple avenues of like questioning until I've read everything that I already have, because I think that was a failure that I did in the first one, the original one. 5Ps, aka Felix Fellows, appeared on the cover of News Time holding a photo of his mother and Guy Hudson. Okay, so this is his mother, but is this the same? Yes. So a crucial difference from this one and this one. Before, it used to be that everyone who had a picture was part of the Roottree like family line. Whereas in this one, obviously affair partners aren't blood relatives, but they are going to be like larger portraits, I suppose. All right, so this is his mother. The article concerns his insistence that his father was Guy Hudson. The story was dramatic and sensational and initially dismissed as fake until DNA tests proved that he was related to Guy Hudson. Okay. 5Ps. Felix Fellows is a confirmed Roottrie. 5P says that his mother was Joanna was Zach Morden's secretary until he retired. His mother was Joanna, Zach Morden, secretary. And then Guy Hudson's secretary for only 1 or 2 weeks after that before she quit. The first few weeks that he was president. His parents divorced when he was 4. After his father learned of the affair. Okay. So, Joanna was also married and divorced after she became pregnant. Felix and his mother then moved to Portland because she was afraid for her and her son's life. He grew up, 5Ps grew up in Portland. He grew up with her until he was 16, but one day his mother never came home from the movie rental store where she worked the register. His mother worked at a movie rental store. Maybe we need to move 5Ps to a new page. Save that there, and then we'll edit this one and move that here. And then we just swap that up there. Okay. His mother worked at a movie rental store. That we might be able to look up. Where she worked the register. The next morning, they found her dead from an overdose in her car. She died from an overdose. She'd stolen all the cash from her drawer and spent it on heroin. Okay, that's a little suspicious. As Felix went through her belongings, the only things he had to remember her were a hairbrush she always used, some photos, and a stuffed animal from her childhood. His mother's mementos were a hairbrush, photos, and a stuffed animal. Then he found it, a box hidden in the back of her closet. Inside were love letters and photos related to Guy Hudson, as well as a letter from his father containing threats. He threw it all away, with the exception of the one photo he appears with on the cover of Newstime. He says it was the only one where they were dressed, the only one not from the affair itself. The picture is shown in full inside the magazine and was added to your evidence. The magazine also includes some additional history about Five Pez's career. Felix Fellows was born to Riley and Joanna Follows, but has never rapped without a moniker. His father's name was Riley Fellows. His mother's maiden name is not clear yet. He tried to find success by opening for other artists and even by selling CDs on the street corners in Portland. He's only recently started going by Five Pez. I guess it's 5 Ps. Five Ps is not a good name. Aren't is the power of his lineage. Okay, so he performed for other artists and had different monikers before settling on 5 Ps. The writer did some research into the truth of these claims and was able to confirm that Joanna did work for the Roottrees company as a secretary during the early to mid 70s. It also confirms that she died of a drug overdose and that Felix went into foster care soon after. 5 Ps went into foster care after the death of his mother and his father divorce. They were unable to track down his father. They also reached out to the Roottrees Candy Company, but at the moment the company's blanket statement was, since the release of a recent book, Roottrees has seen an overwhelming number of false ancestral claims. None have been factual, and nearly all have been knowingly dishonest. We encourage individuals to reach out to us in an official capacity as opposed to attempting to use our name in the media for publicity. Okay, so what's interesting is that this only has 2 pieces of evidence, and I've written an entire, page worth of knowledge. I'm not going to worry too much about that, but all right. So now we're going to read this one. Actually, let's do this one. Let's look at the photo. The rapper 5 Ps appeared on the cover of Newstime holding the Polaroid of his mother Joanna when she was Zach Morton's secretary at the company picnic. He claims that Joanna and Guy Hudson, also in the photo, were having an affair that led to his birth. Roottrees family picnic. All right, so now we're going to read about Miracle. Charlatan and Thieves, Miracle Roottrees fires back. Miracle Roottrees appeared on the cover of Newstime shortly after 5 Ps did. He vehemently denied that 5 Ps was a Roottrees. This article was from before the DNA test that proved it. Miracle doesn't focus much on the details of 5 Ps' accusations regarding his mother and Guy Hudson. Instead, he comes across as exhausted at the events that have been going on behind the scenes, as well as the character of those he feels are attacking his family. He starts with 6 pieces content. He says that although most of the book was based in fact, it left out anything that wouldn't fit the agenda. He points out that Sam's daughter still earns a generous salary for overseeing the farm division of Roottrees, that Sam did the same before her, that Sam's family was not destitute, and that really it was only her son who chose to take on a job with no salary. He claims that though they... I scrolled and confused myself. He claims that though they didn't have to, the family helped pay for her son's medical bills after voting that it was the right thing to do. Miracle also says that the story about his father, Elias, shunning EC was one-sided, leaving out Edward Clancy's blame in the whole thing. Elias gave him a simple ultimatum: stop sinning or be disowned. Miracle says that it was EC's own choice, and that Elias allowing him to earn food and shelter on the company's time was a kindness, especially considering that he and John continued to live together. Well, fuck this guy. Miracle then pivots to the fallout of 6 pieces. He recounts a deluge of claims to the Clancy Trust that the family have been subjected to. He doesn't cite any specifics, but says that every time someone comes forward, the family devolves into arguments. They've had to hire an outside legal team to help, but so far every case has been demonstrably, laughably false. All they do is tarnish his family's reputation. He focuses on 5 Ps, who appeared on News Time before him. He calls him a grifter and a delinquent and says he is using their name and products to sell filth to the masses. Whatever. Of all the accusations, he says this is the most dangerous because it exposes the world to hatred. He cites 5 Ps' lyrics as violent, sexist, and ungodly, and prays the boy will repent, retract his lies, and find religion. Lastly, he turns to the future. Miracle states that those that wish to hear the true story can join him on his farewell tour this upcoming fall. All right. So, Miracle tour, revisit info on the Miracle tour. Yes, the Miracles Rootree are planning on touring the country's churches one last time, and now at the age of 71, Miracle is the oldest living Rootree. While he plans to continue preaching at his own church in Butler County after the tour, this is your last chance to hear the truth from the man with the most complete recollection of America's most notable families in your own hometown. The article mentions that Miracle's son, Miracle Jr., did not wish to comment and has a statement from Clark Rafferty LaRue, through the Rootrees law firm. Miracle does not speak for his entire family. We are working carefully on a plan to definitively disprove any claims of infidelity in our family's past. The article also does not refute Miracle's claim that he's the oldest living Rootree, despite Sam Madsen being born from the year before him. It was unclear if Miracle made that claim out of ignorance or spite. I can pretty much guess that it's spite. We also know that he is one of the men who committed an affair. Because he is... Well, it's almost certainly not this guy. Because it's 2 people that were originally on the family tree. I mean, it could be him, but I'm imagining he's shooting fucking blanks at 71 years old. So I'm still thinking that he's a philanderer right here, and that's why he's being defensive. Okay. We have a lot to sort through at this point. Let's think. What do we want to do? Yeah. So Miracle capitalizing on the whistleblowing, I'm imagining so that he can promote his tour. I think we can... Maybe what we should do... Oh, is this... This is down to 1 now? Wasn't this 8 before? Interesting. I don't know what that actually means for me. God, I'm so fucking bad at clicking. Oh, this is the thing that had 8. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, we're still good. All right. We could continue. Oh, this is cool. I didn't know that it would show me the number of like intuition on these things. So we've looked up 6 pieces. We have the Roottree Rift. We have Clark Rafferty LaRue, Roottreemania, and Anonymom. What do I want to do? Because it feels like I'm getting an immense amount of information all at once. We can put in... Oh, this is nice. We can put in names. So this is Riley. Oh... Now this is cool. So I actually have to pair the first and last names now. I can't just find... So like if I look up Joanna, I don't know what her last name is. That's sick. Okay, okay, okay. I like that so much. That's way harder. All right, so Riley Fellows. We don't know her last name, but we can put in her first name. So we're going to leave her last name blank because we don't know her maiden name. This is Felix Fellows. We know his occupation and we have his picture, but we're not going to lock it in. We're going to do Guy Jones. Or Guy Hudson, rather. Oh, wait. Oh, I see. No, that makes sense. So for the family members, it's going to have the same system. It's only the new people that's going to have that. We don't need to lock in his occupation either because... Yeah, okay, okay. So we do get more info from locking in 4 people. So we need to keep that in mind. I'm almost certain that this is where this guy is. And then let's look up... You know what? I know exactly what I want to do first. We are going to look up in the business watch Elias Roottree and see if his picture... Speech hasn't been updated for 8 months and now may be irrelevant. Interesting. So we didn't get a cover from this. I don't know if that makes... I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? Like, I wanted to see if I would get the same picture that I had before because I could find it, but I'm guessing I needed a new picture. Which, you know, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm going to guess that this is fucking Elias. And it's with Beth, his secretary. Okay. And then somebody had a kid since our original investigation. And we don't know who that is quite yet. And it's someone that... It's both the person who was originally from the Roottrees and... their partner, and there's a picture of their partner. Why is this not locked in? Is there any other? Oh, he has a picture now that's missing. He has a picture. Clark has a picture. Anybody else? I'm glad I noticed that. So that means we definitely need to look up Chris Rafferty again and his like conspiracy, or well, it wasn't his conspiracy website. It was that his email was on a conspiracy website. Okay. Well, that's what this does is it's drawing attention to the fact that these characters who aren't necessarily part of this web have connections to those that are. So we'll keep that in mind. All right. Let's just go down the notable events list, I guess. It's I think even though it's going to be an overwhelming amount of information, it'll be good to sort through it all. So let's do the Roottree Rift now. We'll start with Spider Search. Three press releases from the Roottree Candy Company after the release of 6 pieces were referred to as the Roottree Rift due to clear conflicts between them. The first was fairly standard. It stated that there was no president of the Roottree Candy Company, but the entire family was made aware of the release of the book and that they would be meeting as soon as possible. Only then could they verify the legitimacy of the claims it raised and decide next steps. The second release was emailed to business newspapers 3 hours later. Okay, so let's definitely look up business publication on Roottree public statement regarding 6 pieces. Announcing that after a vote, Ron Roottree would be taking over temporarily as interim president. Ron Roottree was interim president for Clark. That's interesting. It also went on to state that Ron was aware of the book and had verified the claims within and would look into compensating Mrs. Madsen and our family immediately. It also stated that the company's lawyer would be making immediate steps with the family to revisit the Clancy Trust's terms to make sure nothing like this could happen again. It was quickly clear to business reporters and analysts that the time between the two press statements would not have been logistically sufficient to gather a majority of the family, even using conference calls. This was reported on many news channels, and a third, much shorter press release came the next day. Okay, so Roottree, we'll just call this the Rift. The Rift. Rift was also picked up by news channels. Wasn't the... I don't know if it counts as like a publication, but we watched like a news statement when the first game started, and I wonder if we can look up that news channel. I don't remember what it's called though, which will prove to be an issue looking this up. Okay. It claimed that a draft of the announcement was made prematurely, and that Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottree would be taking over as the company's first joint presidents. It also stated that any compensation plan would be based on stringent verification process. That's very interesting. So, joint presidency, I guess I'll... this would be the first time there was a joint presidency at the Roottree Candy Company. Okay. So we've got this to look at. Now we're going to look up Clark Rafferty LaRue. Well, yes. We got to look up everything on the notable list first. There's an older version of this page in Time Travel Archive. Oh, okay. This is like a... Yeah, so if I go here, this is the old one. Yeah. Okay. Clark Rafferty LaRue is the new president of Roottrees Corporation. This does not include Root, which appears to have its own new leadership. Okay, so let's do this as Clark. RLR. Root has new leadership. That's important to look up. In early March of 1999, about 5 months ago, it was announced that both Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottree would be taking over for what was essentially described as a transitional period in the aftermath of Six Pieces. About 2 weeks later, the company released a press statement that thanked Ron for his work, but announced that Clark was the new permanent president. Okay, so Ron was joint president for only 2 weeks. Most of the information about Clark you already knew. Many descriptions of him tend to focus on his advertising career and that his mother was Lauren Roottree. Few seem to touch on his complex and volatile marital history. Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of public spotlight. What am I reading? Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of the spotlight, but did have one notable foray into the public eye. He gained a lot of support when his first move was a statement in favor of accepting Sam and her family into the trust. Clark's statement bringing Sam into the Clancy Trust. This also served as the announcement that Clancy Trust would no longer be handled by anyone in the family, since due to their financial motivation, none of them could ever be impartial. The Clancy Trust is now being administered by an outside law firm to avoid nepotism, lack of impartiality. Okay. We've done 5 Ps. Let's look up Roottreemania. Roottreemania immediately followed the announcement that a rapper going by 5 Ps was actually Roottree. Collectively, popular culture seems to focus on the Rootree family and 5Ps for a few weeks before everything felt oversaturated and society moved on. Because of the 5P saga, an underlying through line to how pop culture treated Roottreemania was an excuse for everyday people to claim they were also Roottrees. Daytime talk shows had an I'm a Secret Roottree episode, okay? Daytime talk shows had I'm a Secret Rootree episodes. Late night hosts and guests made jokes about other lost members of the family. And there was a widely shared website where you could fill in your own name to find out if you were a secret Rootree. When you submitted your name, it simply said no, with an image of Clark Rafferty LaRue giving you the finger. That's really funny. So a website where you could, I guess it's a parody website where you could check if you are a Rootree. Maybe relevant. Picture of Clark. Roottreemania lasted only a few weeks, just long enough for 6 pieces to re-enter the charts and to trigger new printings of other Rootree-related media. This included Lauren's diaries, VHS releases of Gwyn's old movies, as well as countless other unauthorized biographies, which mostly seemed to attempt to capitalize on the Rootree sisters Carl and Brenda. Okay, so Lauren's diaries, Gwyn's old movies, unauthorized biographies, focusing on the sisters Carl and Brenda. The re-releases were too late to successfully capitalize on or extend the craze. As a result, most of them were failures, and countless novelty shirts that had variations of I'm a Secret Rootree became immediately unfashionable, though some people still wear them ironically. Ooh, ironic fashion in 1999. All right, and now Anonymom. This is going to probably be the longest one, because this was pretty long here. All right, I also need to add notes from this, so I want to actually do that now. So I guess we do 6 pieces. Mostly focuses on Guy Rootree and his affairs, but also describes a potential affair that Elias had with his secretary as well. Don't have much else for this one. The Rootree Rift. In March, the Rootree 3 conflicting press statements. We don't really need to add anything there. Clark was announced as the permanent successor. Welcome, Sam. Company hired an outside legal group to handle the changes to the Clancy Trust. This included any other new questions of lineage. This outside law firm also is handling questions of lineage. We should probably find out who's running it. 5Ps. After this announcement, there was a rash of different people claiming to be Rootrees. Highest profile by a wide margin. Yeah, all right. Don't need to add anything there. So, in another high-profile misstep, Miracle Rootree publicly and vehemently denied this. Then the legal team, the Rootrees legal team, not the other one, offered to do it. So maybe we should do that. Look up the DNA test information regarding 5Ps. And then Anonymom. Jane Doe Rootree, proven to not be a blood relative, is the daughter of an anonymous woman who claimed to have had an affair with a Rootree. She held interviews with a voice changer and What was it? Yeah. And her face unrevealed. Maybe we can find footage. It echoed 5 pieces in nearly every significant way. The court of public opinion began to turn. Proved that her daughter was not a Rootree. So, Anonymom could have been one of the women at the swingers party, believing that after having sex with a guy, she was pregnant with his child. But it was actually someone else at the party who impregnated her. Okay. That's my current assumption. We haven't even looked her up yet. Okay, so now let's actually search Anonymom. Anonymom was the second high-profile case after Felix Fellows of a potential new Rootree being added to the Clancy Trust. Instead of claiming herself a Rootree, however, she claimed she'd slept with Guy Hudson and that her daughter was a Rootree. The accusation came during the height of Roottreemania and began with a brief TV interview. She appeared in the shadows with a disguised voice and promoted an article about herself in Newstime. She was in Newstime. In the TV interview, an article she referred to her, in the TV interview and the article, she referred to her daughter as Jane Doe Rootree. Name Anonymom was not self-inflicted. It seemed to spring up organically because nobody knew how else to refer to her. The day after the Newstime article, Sam Madsen publicly supported Anonymom due to some parts of the story she found particularly credible. Interesting. Sam Madsen supports the story Anonymom is claiming. With momentum from Sam's endorsement, Anonymom went on a media blitz. Unfortunately, this backfired. As more details came out, people became skeptical of her story due to the extreme similarity of 5Ps. Her accusation even included many of the same details of his mother's story. This included her job and the time period. But that still checks out because Joanne was only Guy Jones' secretary for like 2 weeks. After fumbling the 5-piece story so publicly, the Roottrees were more prepared to handle all of the Clancy Trust-related cases. Within a week, a DNA test proved that Anonymom's daughter could not be related to the Roottrees. This was announced as at a joint press conference with lawyers representing both Anonymom and the Roottrees. Each party ensured their respective clients provided accurate samples. Immediately after the negative results were released, many of those who had already been skeptical felt vindicated. Others who had built up hope that history could repeat itself after 5Ps felt duped. Many people suspected the whole affair had been a hoax to gain fame and money. Many demanded that Anonymom be held accountable, and some people began to attempt to track down her true identity. It could be a false positive. It could be that it's the whole swinger party. I'm inclined to believe her initially. The Rootree company felt pressured to put out a second statement to try and curb some of the backlash, even going so far as to say, though it was scientifically proven that Jane Doe Rootree is not a Rootree, this doesn't mean that her mother and Guy Hudson were not involved in an affair. She had every right to make her claim, as it has been verified that her stories about Guy Hudson were not exaggerations. Please leave their family alone. Many people claim this high-profile, anticlimactic, and public backlash was the beginning of the end for Roottreemania, since much of the fun was shared fascination about secret Rootrees. Secret Rootrees. Others think that, like any fad, it just ran out its course naturally. Regardless, this was the final notable event related to the release of 6 pieces, and things went back to normal. Jane Doe Rootree has already been eliminated as a potential new Rootree by the company's lawyers, who are the ones verifying your work. Anonymom's affair does not appear on your updated tree. Okay, so I guess that's interesting, though. So he had an affair with 5 women and had children with all of them. Potentially. This guy's fucking gross. What a freak. All right. Well, it has been 1 hour. We've reviewed all of the evidence that we have initially collected. We have a lot to look up. We've got a lot of notes. Like, there's a lot to sort through. I think next time what we'll do is we'll start with Elias. And work our way from left to right. And see what we can discover from this. Just because this is a less overwhelming amount of information, right? Like, we've got a pretty small quantity of things to review. Also, I've swapped my outfits again. I think it's because of my short keys are things that I type naturally. So I've just swapped back to this guy. But that's okay, whatever. I'm not going to make a fuss about it. All right, well, good start. Very interesting. I am really looking forward to playing more. Obviously, this game is phenomenal, and this mystery is already interesting. Significantly more salacious. This is a lascivious affair. And I'm very fascinated to figure out what else is going on. I am also curious who the new Roottrees is. So that'll be cool. Yeah, very, very excellent start. And I am excited to record more. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you had fun. I certainly did while I was playing. And I'm going to probably immediately record my next episode. So, well, I'm going to do what I did last time. You'll just get a daily release, hour-long video, and we'll continue the mysteries of the Roottrees. See you later. Goodbye.